Hello, everyone. We are about to start our showcase sessions for the afternoon. So I'd really like to introduce our first showcase. It's Gill, Simmons and Paul Lawless from Brave Bold Drama. They are an award-winning theatre and community arts organisation, and they've taken this opportunity to share with us their experiences of an arts organisation during this time in lockdown. But also are going to talk to us a little bit about what they understand health and well-being to mean, and transferring that into a working environment. So Gill, I'll pass over to you.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Brave Bold Drama's presentation at the National Rural Touring Forums Conference 2020. Really happy to be asked to present this afternoon about today's theme, what is mental health and how we can support a healthy working environment within our organisations and across the creative sector. Big questions. Who am I? Good question. My name is Gill Simmons. I am the Artistic Director of Brave Bold Drama, which is a theatre and community arts company based in South Bristol, Withywood to be precise. If you look up Withywood, you'll find it neighbours Hartcliffe, and together Withywood and Hartcliffe represent some of the most deprived wards in the UK. And it's where I live. I am a single parent. I live primarily on benefits, and I live here because I can't afford to live anywhere else and nowhere else would rent to me. So I have lived experience of my immediate community's challenges to some degree, and it is the reason that a lot of our work, particularly this year, has been hyper local. It has been within a few streets of my house because it's really difficult to get anywhere else. That's us in a nutshell. We're not an organisation. If you look on our website, we probably look quite big. We are two freelancers who volunteer to run a not-for-profit community interest company. No one gets a salary. There's no back office staff. I'm going to speak to you this afternoon primarily about the second part of today's theme, about healthy working environments within organisations, rather than defining what is mental health. Don't feel I've got enough experience to go into detail about what mental health is, but healthy working environments and notions of well-being within that, both for participants and also artists. Yes, I think I can talk to you about that. I'm going to pin my 20 minutes across three sources. The first one is what the NHS says about well-being. The second one is what the Arts Council says about arts and well-being. And the third one is what the Arts and Health Southwest Regional Strategy 2019 says about arts and well-being. I'm going to talk from a personal perspective and from Brave Bold Drama's perspective about how we connect with those three frameworks, and hopefully through taking us as a bit of a case study, some new ideas or some new approaches or just some reflections on your own working practice and your own well-being might come about. The NHS says there's 5 pathways to well-being. The first, connect with other people to foster a sense of belonging and self-worth, share positive experiences, support others and receive emotional support. We do this a lot through our engagement work. We turn up to play areas, old people's community groups, or we used to, and we connect with them and we meet them on their own terms, in their own space. We respect that they've invited us into their space, and we bring them new opportunity to explore new things, but we also celebrate them, what they know, what they can do, what they think. So us as socially engaged artists means that we do a lot of connecting with other people, and that's great. The second one, be physically active. Literally some days we are just, loading vans, unloading vans, driving, unloading, setting up, packing down. There's a hell of a lot of physical activity, and then you put a family improv show where you're running about in dungarees on top of that. And I think that's, saves on gym membership. Learn new skills is the third NHS's suggestion for wellbeing all the time, particularly this year learned how to make films, thought about how we can reshape our work within care homes now that we literally cannot go there in person. We've learned so many new skills, but we would have been anyway. Last year we were learning a lot about how dementia affects people and how you can engage with people who are living with dementia, and that created loads of new learning. This year we've been researching with Bristol and Bath Creative R&D, and that's thrown up a lot of new knowledge about things like binaural sound recording. Doing the work that we do, we are always learning new things. You know, even if we're making a prop for a show, because we don't have an in-house designer, we sometimes have a bit of money to consult with a designer, but often it's me and Paul going, oh no, that didn't work. Okay, get a different thing and we'll try that. So always learning new things. Number 4 is give to others, which is massively what we do, particularly again this year. A lot of our performance work and our workshop work, it has been non-transactional with the participants. They haven't paid a penny for it because we've secured emergency grants, not from Arts Council or DCMS, but from other places. And we've been able to give people things entirely for free. That is a really pure form of giving to others, which I really love because it takes away that whole element of, was this value for money though, which you get with a commercial performance. And you always feel you're worried about that when you're doing something on a commercial basis. And I don't mean that when people haven't paid for something, it's slapdash and it doesn't matter. I do not mean that for a single second. What I mean is people respond to creative opportunities and offers in a different way when it's not a transactional arrangement. I really like being able to do that, particularly in my area where people cannot pay for a theatre show. They still deserve one, right? Yes, they do. And the final NHS wellbeing suggestion is to be present or mindful, to enjoy the moment. And this is what I most love about doing the work I do, is how present you have to be when you are within a performance or workshop. You have to be completely present for that person. And you kind of enter into this state of flow. You respond moment to moment, either from what people are saying or how people are behaving. And it obliges you, if you're doing it properly, to be entirely present and not to be thinking about what you're going to have for tea or worrying about, have you missed the last bus? You have to be present. So reflecting on those NHS guidelines for well-being, I realised that as artists, we're doing a lot of those things through our work. And that was interesting. I think the reason we work well is we are actually really small. Sometimes we wish we had a bit more people for load bearing and spreading the load, but it means we are really close as colleagues. We're aware of each other and very intersectionally in terms of life and work. And we don't lose sight of the whole person that you're working with because we know each other really well. So personal things, we just respect the boundaries and say, okay, you're dealing with that. It's fine. We'll put that on hold. I'm going to tell that partner we're going to postpone that and you deal with that and then we'll come back to it. It's really good to have that. And I think maybe if we were in a bigger organisation, there'd be more of a bit of a treadmill creeping in or a bit more of a chance that we wouldn't be quite as open with each other perhaps. And that might mean that people were working when they shouldn't be for their own well-being. Trust is massive too. Huge amounts of trust between us. So I know he will show up. He knows I will show up. We don't blame. There's no blame. If things go wrong, it's a shared thing. And that creates for us a really secure working relationship, which is why it's lasted as long as it has and is going as well as it has, and we're weathering a lot of storms together. I just said the second thing would be Arts Council's thoughts on wellbeing. I'm not going to go into lots of detail about what they say. I am going to signpost a couple of things to you, which I'm sure you're already aware of. Arts Council website has got reports on wellbeing. There was an all-party political group inquiry in 2017 about arts cultural organisations' health and well-being. Includes a lot of statistics on the impact of participatory arts and arts engagement on people's well-being. It also, interestingly, sort of quantifies that. It says, £1 spent on early years participatory arts saves £13 in the long run. I don't know how they calculate any of these things, but it's quantified there, as well as talking about the impact on participants on well-being. And those reports, there's a huge amount of expectation on artists to be providing opportunities for well-being, and that's fine. The Arts Council doesn't talk at all about making sure that artists who are doing that work are also looked after, and that was interesting. And when I spoke to Larato Dunn, who is the Bristol lead for Arts and Health Southwest, she immediately said, are you going to talk about how there's a lot of expectation that art is going to do good for other people, but not always do those organisations or those expectations extend to the artists themselves? And I said, yes, I am. And now I am. So there you are. It's a good thing to just be aware of and think about. It's a lot of expectation, particularly now. The arts have to prove their worth, and we know that they're valuable and precious and important, but burnout is also a real thing, and being paid late is a real thing, and not being paid for preparation is a real thing, and writing applications that take you 3 days and getting a 2-line email back with no feedback is a thing. And so there are behaviours and working practices, usually between bigger arts organisations and bigger commissioners and freelancers, that are definitely not looking after artists' mental health and artists' well-being. So I'm just really stating that. The third thing is the Arts and Health Southwest Regional Strategy 2019 and how that cuts up against our work as Brave Bold Drama. I'm just going to take the goals that it talks about in that report and how Brave Bold Drama is actioning quite a lot of these goals. So go us. Goal 1. To increase the capacity of arts practitioners to contribute to health and well-being. And it suggests that you do this through things like cross-sectoral collaboration, co-production, networks, shared evaluation. So if you look at our website and our partners, we do a lot of cross-sectoral collaboration. We don't just work with artists. We've never just worked with artists. We've always connected with people from lots of different fields. For example, Avon Wildlife Trust, a lot of youth organisations that are operational in South Bristol, and schools, children's centres as well in early years, and other charities that don't have a specific arts focus. And we've always done that. Co-production, didn't used to do this as much, are now entirely working in a co-production way. Because events have got all these additional requirements and limitations and restrictions, we have said we as Brave Bold Drama cannot bear sole responsibility for any event anymore until there are no restrictions anymore. We cannot be responsible for being aware of capacity, for being aware of hygiene requirements, as well as showing up and delivering art. We are not doing both of those things. And to be able to say that and to draw that line, not just in the sand, it feels like we've drawn it in concrete and it's, we are absolutely not going back on that. It's been really, really freeing. So we've been in a park in Hartcliffe in August presenting work, but it was within the context of our partner LPW, who are a much larger youth organisation. They are dealing with who's there, what the hygiene is. They are dealing with the whole site, and we're just turning up, we're setting up our bit in the corner, we're doing our thing, and we're contributing to a shared thing. And the freedom, but also the notion that you had that mental load shared was just beautiful. We're going to a community centre in Hartcliffe. The staff there are dealing with the bookings and making sure it's not oversubscribed. So we're really enjoying that. Do you know what? We're not going to run events single-handedly anymore like we used to when we ran a venue in South Bristol. We took all of that, but we've absolutely said, no, we are doing the art bit, the logistics bit, that's someone else's job. And we've really benefited from that way of working. Networking, we attend a Bristol City Council headed up thing called multi-agency network meetings, which I imagine most city councils across the country will have in some form or another. It's the Families in Focus team that head them up. So it has an early years and children and young people focus, but it is, as the name implies, multi-agency, and it's absolutely cross-sectional: police, debt management, special educational needs, social workers and health practitioners, community learning groups, other charities, other schools. So many different contacts, but they're all aware of our bit of Bristol. We get this beautiful overview from loads and loads of different perspectives about what our community needs, what our community is doing, and how we could potentially partner up and slot in and support that. You know, we've done stuff off the back of what the local PCSOs have been saying. We've then got funding and delivered Arts Award for young people because the PCSOs are like, do you know what? There's loads of young people hanging around with nothing to do. And they were advocating out on the street for us. So the police community support officers knew of our work and were telling the kids that were hanging around that that was an opportunity. That's a great way of working. So see what your council is doing if you're passionate or you're interested in socially engaged practice, because they know their patch and they will welcome you, because you will have a different perspective again to offer. Evaluation, and talking about shared evaluation. Now, I mentioned earlier we have been a partner on Bristol and Bath Creative R&D research programme. It's called Expanded Performance, and we were ostensibly researching whether including a tech element means that teenagers are more likely to engage in a performing arts offer. That was our original research question. What it actually threw up was, do you know what? It's super hard to get evaluation reports out of other people. And culturally, it's treated with a lot of suspicion if you ask people, oh, how did that go? How many did you engage? Where did they come from? People don't want to talk to you. They say like, oh, that's not appropriate to share. That was just for our funder. Why do you need to know? What's in it for me? Why should I tell you? And that really got us thinking about how in this world that we work in, there's so much territorial behaviour, and it's to do with limited funding and resources, and everybody's fighting over the same few pots, and there's not often a lot of open-heartedness. Occasionally there's incredibly beautiful examples of transparency, but we just found, broadly speaking, that when we were researching, the people that were super generous and open with us were nowhere near Bristol. It's people in York, people in London, who we weren't going for their funding pots, you see, and I think that was the thing. But, you know, is that a good thing? Is it really? We are starting to walk the walk and go, do you know what? We're going to evaluate projects and we're going to create a 2-page PDF that's immediately accessible on our website that says like how much money was put into this, who paid for it, how many people were engaged, what went well, what didn't go so well, what did we learn from it, and just make that open. So they haven't had to email me, they haven't had to phone me up, they just got it off the website. I'm hoping that in a small way I might start a ripple here today where people go, sharing our learning and sharing what we know through when we evaluate projects would actually be really beneficial for everybody. It would be win-win for everyone, and I don't think it would mean that people lost funding opportunities. I just think everybody would feel a bit more supported. Goal 2 on the Arts, Health and Southwest is working to increase activities that align with health and wellbeing goals. And then it talks a lot about being aware of local priorities. And this is where, again, us attending those multi-agency network meetings mean we are very aware of local priorities and how we can support and enrich and partner up because we show up to those meetings. But also we're aware that a local priority for Hartcliffe and Withywood, if you Google Hartcliffe and Withywood, you will find really bad press. The first 10, 12 clicks will be about riots, deprivation, poverty. It will be grim and it will be bleak. And that is how people in Withywood and Hartcliffe feel they are represented, not just across the city, but like nationally. That's what people think of. And I think our local priority for us, therefore, is to change that record and to go, do you know what? There's loads of really good stuff happening here. And can you stop just associating us with all this negative stuff? Because it impacts hugely on our community's mental health and how they view themselves and what they think they're capable of. The last thing we ran in normal times and was celebrating that there's a really rare little butterfly that lives in Hartcliffe, and it was a commission that came through developer money. They're developing houses, but there is going to be a community free green space in Hartcliffe, and there's going to be this local nature reserve. So our project was celebrating that there's this rare butterfly and encouraging people to be aware of that and to know that when the building work's finished, there's going to be this area that they can go in. When I went into the local secondary school and went, hey guys, do you know what? There's this super rare butterfly and it lives in Hartcliffe, and it blew their minds. They were so proud. And it's like, you should be proud. You should be proud that your patch of the city has a rare butterfly. I'm just going to finish with a couple of feedback comments from people about how we work and what it's like working with us. I would hope that we foster good working environments and healthy working environments for freelancers. We're freelancers too. We pay people within 5 working days. We provide work schedules and we stick to it. We don't cancel last minute. We are really open about our limitations and why things have to happen in a certain way. We make sure that they're happy with the fees and that they're fair. First bit of feedback is from Lorato Dunn, who mentioned earlier, who we hired to deliver some multi-arts early years work with us. This is Lorato Dunn about us. I think you're really good at supporting the well-being of other freelancers you employ. When I worked for you, I valued how quickly you paid people and how well you communicated, but also the care and interest you took. I felt valued, that you were interested in my growth beyond the things you had contracted me for, and you took time to share things like ideas and resources. I think you foster a healthy working environment through authenticity and care. You listen and respond. This is a visual artist called Susie Furs, who we hired and have never met, but she has created bespoke images for one of our remote care home projects. You are lovely to work for. You take time to give a good brief, and you both have such a positive manner. It always brings out the best in someone. Finally, Bristol Improv Theatre asked if I would consult with them on community engagement, so I gave them my thoughts over lockdown. They said that all companies have a what they do, why they do it, and how they do it. And most people focus on what they do or how they do it. And they felt that our whole messaging through our website and everything really focused on why we do something. And she just said, your why is really pure. And I was really proud of that. Why do we do what we do? We do what we do because people in my area don't get anything like the opportunities that people in other postcodes get. And that is not fair. That is not fair that in particular families and children and young people are not given scope to raise their awareness of other opportunities. There is nothing wrong with being a scaffolder. There is nothing wrong with being a hairdresser, but don't do those things just because no one told you you could also be a sound designer or a choreographer, just because no one showed you other things. Young people deserve range and breadth and opportunity, and people taking a punt on them and giving them options and believing that they can do it, and representing, going, look, here is a person and this is how they work. That could be you. Artists are not some strange other beings that just turn up on book covers and signing their names at the corner of massive great paintings in posh art galleries you never go in. Artists are real people, and here are some, and they think you young people who live in Hartcliffe and Withywood are amazing and you've got incredible ideas. Now let's get on. That's why I get up in the morning. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you, Gill. I mean, it's amazingly thoughtful and useful that what you've put together there. And it was quite a different approach to how some of the other artists have approached that half an hour, and you've really taken the time to think about the theme. So we really appreciate that. And I was just wondering, off the back of that, what you both at Brave Bold Drama are imagining will happen next. What are Brave Bold Drama looking at doing in the next few months or maybe next year? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah,
So we have excitingly been commissioned to make a new thing for December. So that's very exciting, which will be our first time we've actually made work at Christmas, me and Paul, together. So that's really exciting. And next year we are going chemical. Because the Royal Society of Chemistry took a punt on us and are backing us to develop a thing called the Discovery Lab, which is a sort of pop-up hybrid of improv theatre and kitchen chemistry, which will have a little set, and we can take it to like the park in Hartcliffe, and then the kids can explore chemistry, but we've got characters and it's got elements of improv and performance to it. And hopefully we will be able to partner up with some of the bigger kind of science organisations in Bristol. I won't kind of mention who we're talking about because there's nothing in the bag yet, and I ain't jinxing nothing. So but I'm hoping that we're like the bridge, because people in our area, when you think about that map screen, we're so peripheral. And to get anywhere other than this immediate area is really hard if you do not have a car. I mean, I'm speaking to a mother of a 17-year-old, and she was like, how do we even find out about theatre? I don't know anything. And I'm like, okay, well, what's she interested in? Can you get anywhere? No, we haven't got a car. Okay, fine. I'll bring it to you then, you know? So we are like, I see us as like a hub and a bridge. So I've got the brass neck. I will walk in through any door and talk to anybody, and that way I can bridge for people in my area who haven't quite got that brass neck but still deserve that. You know, that's why we are called brave. Like when you encourage, you literally give courage, you give bravery, and that is what people who are, you know, socially disadvantaged through no fault of their own, through complete circumstance, that is luck, and that anybody could find themselves in. They can't find a way out, and I see us in a kind of way proportionally appropriate to two people. We can't save everybody, and like haven't got some kind of savior complex, you know, but people that want our help and come across our path, if I've got a way of connecting them and helping them get on in life, I will do it, because that is what is the right, that makes me feel better. So yeah, so we're making a show for Christmas, and then we're doing a chemistry thing, and yeah, it's all going very well, considering we feel like, yeah, we've weathered the whole thing considerably. You know, we managed to keep going, managed to keep making things for the primary school, and we've just been delivering stuff for care homes remotely. Boxes of sensory kit with audio on a CD and stuff. So we're still kind of connecting with people in our community that we would have been, just in different routes, because we can't do the in-person stuff obviously so much.
I think what you've highlighted in today's session, and obviously I've looked a lot through your website, is that you've over time developed these techniques that help to dismantle the barriers for people to enjoy art, and that's obviously something that you've really focused on in your work. And we're running out of time, so I would love to have talked to you a bit more about what you understand those barriers are, and I know they can be unique to the areas that artists are working in. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about how those that are watching today can find out a bit more about what you've done to help break down those barriers, what's been really successful. Can people contact you directly? Do you offer opportunities for people to invite you in to come and talk more about how you've done that?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to bravebolddrama.co.uk, and you can contact me through the website there. Or I will share my email with everybody, which is jill@bravebolddrama.co.uk. I'm up for talking to anybody. We are just two people. Like we don't, but if anybody wants to ask me, like Shed in Bristol asked for some consultation in the Bristol Improv Theatre. I mean, I haven't got any special training in community engagement, but I think because I've got lived experience here, and I'm quite trapped here, but I've got a bit more nerve. So, yeah, I I would be super happy to talk to people, because we could treat us as like a bit of a case study, because we're just dealing primarily, our heart is for Hartcliffe and Withywood. There's loads more of the UK. So, that's why we like to be open in our practice and go, well, we'll share our evaluations with people, because you might go and do that in Norfolk. We ain't going to go to Norfolk. You go and do something similar in Norfolk. If we can help you connect with children in Norfolk in tower blocks, brilliant. I don't even know if Norfolk has tower blocks, but you know what I mean? So yeah, hit us up, ask, and I will help any way I can, because this stuff matters. It's not just for people who can pay. It's really not just for people who can pay. It's for everybody, and especially children and young people who are just starting out in life. And what if dance was their thing and just no one knew to show it them? Like, what a heartbreak and what a loss. So, show people things and then help them be brave, and the world will be better.
You've done a really good job of highlighting how artists are pivotal in those communities of building those networks. And so thank you for your time today, both of you, and good luck with what's happening. So hopefully people will keep an eye on the website and find out more and be inspired.
Website and social media, we've got all various Instagram. I wouldn't, but sort of Facebook and Twitter particularly. Instagram, I just forget about it a bit. Sorry, I don't understand it. But Twitter and Facebook, yes. So follow us. Sign up to our newsletter, which I occasionally manage to do once a month, and check out the website. And if you can't find what you're looking for, email me. I will gladly help if I can.
And find out whether you have your own multi-agency network nearby that will help you to link up with everything that's going on in your community. I think that was a really great.
Find out what your council is doing, because there will be, because especially in areas of deprivation, it's intersectional. All the barriers, without detailing, they are massively intersectional, and in order to address them, you've got to have debt management, drug addiction, foster carers, as well as the artists. You've got to have a multi approach to unlocking people from the situations they're in. So yeah, multi-agency network meetings or similar. I mean, they may not be quite called that. Hit up the family team, and they will, I'm sure, know it. And then it will be just an area. So there's an east one for Bristol, and north. We just go to the south one because we're in the south. So it's that specific, and that's what it needs.
I think it's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for your time today. Really thought-provoking, lots of information that we can take with us. And people will be watching this post today as well, so we're going to leave this up as a recorded piece so people can access it after today, and we can share your PowerPoint with the information hopefully at some point. That would be fantastic. So good luck, and thank you very much.